Heading into every NHL season, I usually pick one other team than the Detroit Red Wings to really closely follow and try to watch as many of their games as possible. It could be a team that I'm just really intrigued with. There could be players on that team that I'm a fan of, and I think this year that team is going to be the New York Rangers. I'm just super excited to see how Kravtsov and Kakko do. Both of these guys coming in as rookies with some pretty high expectations, and I'm also super intrigued to see how Artemi Panarin does, because there's most likely going to be a lot of pressure on him to live up to that contract, but I think he will do just fine, especially playing with some of the talented players that the New York Rangers already have. And I'm also excited to see how Jacob Trouba does now in his new role with the Rangers, where he is most likely going to be the main guy on that blue line for them. So I think there is just a lot to be intrigued about with this New York Rangers team heading into next season. Definitely is a fantastic time to be a fan of the New York Rangers, and that is why in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys my 2019-2020 expectations for the New York Rangers. I'm holding off doing these videos for some other teams because they still have RFAs to sign and they're still most likely not done making moves, but I think New York is probably going to remain relatively quiet the remainder of this offseason. I think they already made a lot of the moves that they were already, wanting to make heading into the summer, so I think now it's just a matter of waiting and just predicting and really just trying to guess how this team is going to fare come opening night. So now, like we do at the start of all of these videos, we're going to be recapping the year that the New York Rangers just had. They finished with a 32-36-14 record, 7th in the Metro Division, and I think they did a little bit better than a lot of people would have expected them to, and sometimes for a rebuilding team that can backfire because you want the highest draft pick possible, but obviously it didn't matter in the end for the New York Rangers because they ended up, in my opinion, being one of the winners of the offseason just strictly by getting Kaapo Kakko, who is going to be a franchise centerpiece for them moving forward. Their leading goal scorer last year was Mika Zibanejad with 30 goals. Their leading point scorer was also Zibanejad with 74 points, and he really showed that he can be a very reliable number one center in this league, and now he's going to be playing with talented wingers like a Panarin, and most likely with a guy like Kaapo Kakko. I think the ceiling just continues to go up for Mika Zibanejad, so that's a really good sign for them. And some notable rookies last season for the Rangers: Lias Andersson, Philip Hedl, and Brett Howden. Lias Andersson didn't really have the greatest year. They're definitely probably going to be hoping for a little bit more out of him next year, but Philip Hedl looked okay, and I think he's going to take another step forward next season. And a guy that kind of surprised a lot of people was Brett Howden, who played very well in the games that he did play in the NHL, and he's the most likely going to play a pretty big part for them next year as well. So overall, it was a good year for them in terms of just developing their young guys and, just taking a step in the right direction. Before I get into all the lineup predictions and player stats predictions and stuff like that, I wanted to talk about this for a second, and that is how good will Kaapo Kakko and Vitaly Kravtsov be in their rookie seasons for the New York Rangers. And I think this is going to play a big part in if they are going to be able to make that immediate jump into being a playoff team. I think Kravtsov is a little bit more of a question mark of the two. He put up some really impressive numbers in the KHL as a teenager, and in the KHL you're playing against some very good players, guys that used to play in the NHL, and just obviously some very good Russian players in general. So I think he is NHL ready, and he should be in for a pretty strong rookie campaign. But now moving to Kaapo Kakko, I'm just so excited to see how he does. I think he's probably the favorite for the Calder Trophy right now if I had to guess. I think he's a guy that has the potential to be a 30 goal scorer in his rookie year. He's already been in New York, even though it kind of seems like he doesn't want to be there. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put the clip on the screen right now.
I just arrived in New York. Wow, it's a nice city.
I personally just thought that video clip was hilarious. He just seems so shy, and obviously it makes sense, he's a teenager, but it literally looks like he's held at gunpoint by the New York Rangers general manager saying, okay, you're going to say this is a nice city right now. I just thought that was kind of funny. Obviously it was a joke and it literally means nothing, but I just thought if you guys haven't saw that video that it would be something funny to put in here. But nonetheless, like I said, I think he's going to be in for a very strong rookie season, and if he can be like a 30 plus goal scorer and be a guy who's reliable on the top line, that just gives that team that much more depth and that much more flexibility with their lineup. So I think there is a lot to look forward to. But now let's jump into my player stats predictions. So I'm going to continue to say this before I talk about the player stats predictions in all of these videos. It's all hypothetical. I know they're not all going to play in 82 games. There will be injuries, and this is just pure speculation on if they do play in all 82. So I think their leading point scorer will be Panarin. I have him at exactly a point per game, 30 goals and 52 assists for 82 points, which isn't quite worth 11 mil, but I guess that it's a price you pay on the open market to to get guys like Panarin. Then I have Mika Zibanejad with 75 points, continuing to be a very, very solid NHL player. Third in scoring, I have Kaapo Kakko. I have him with 30 goals and 30 assists for 60 points, and I honestly could see him doing better than that, if he's really comfortable coming right out of the gate. Then I have Chris Kreider, 55 points. He's always a guy who can give you 20 plus goals, and up there around 50 points. Just a really good, solid forward to have. Then I have Jacob Trouba with his second consecutive 50-point season at 51 points. And then I have Pavel Buchnevich kind of having the breakout year that I expected him to have over the past 2 seasons with 25 goals and 25 assists for 50 points. I'm a big fan of Pavel Buchnevich. I feel like he's a guy that, a lot of people can forget that the New York Rangers do have, but he's still young and definitely can be a very, very solid piece for them, especially, in the top 6 if some of the rookie players like a Kravtsov or like a Kaapo Kakko don't work out. So I think they have a lot of options there, and overall I think they have a really, really good forward crop, and they shouldn't really have any problems scoring goals next year. So now getting into my lineup projection for the New York Rangers heading into next season. I know this won't be right, things are definitely going to be switched around a little bit, but if I had to guess, this is what I think things could look like come opening night. Top line, I have Artemi Panarin with Mika Zibanejad and Kaapo Kakko. I wouldn't be surprised though if one of those guys are maybe on the second line just to kind of spread things out a little more, but if it isn't and it is like that, I think that is a very, very strong first line. Then I have Chris Kreider with Filip Chytil and Pavel Buchnevich, and that is if Filip Chytil is ready for that second line center role, but if not, I think Strome can, fit in there nicely if Filip Chytil isn't ready to take on that big of a role just yet, but if he is, I think that is a very, very solid second line and overall a very solid top 6. Third line, I have Strome with Nemestikov and Vitaly Kravtsov. Wouldn't be surprised if Kravtsov does find his way into the top 6 though, but if not, I think that is a very solid third line. And then on the fourth line, I have Brett Howden with Jesper Fast and Elias Anderson. Obviously, Howden and Fast had a pretty good year last season for the New York Rangers. Elias Anderson, not so much, and I think if we see more of that next season, then he could find himself in the American Hockey League for another year, and then maybe a guy like Brendan Lemieux comes in and, plays that fourth line role where Elias Anderson would be, because Brendan Lemieux is still a relatively young player who can score and does bring some physical upside as well. So I think there is just a lot that they can do with this lineup, and overall looking at it, I think you have a lot of talented guys. Maybe it does lack, the physicality and the grit as some of the other teams, but that's why I have Brendan Lemieux there, and I think that's why he can play a pretty decent role if some of the guys, like Elias Anderson or Filip Chytil or someone like that aren't ready to play in the NHL. So overall, I think it's a very, very solid forward group, but now let's get into the defense. So now taking a look at my projected D pairings for the New York Rangers next season, and just overall looking at this, I think there's a lot to be excited about here as well, to go along with the forwards. You have Brady Shea with Jacob Trouba, a really solid top pairing. Both guys are young and very reliable, have already showed that they can be reliable defensemen. Then I have Anthony DeAngelo with Kevin Shattenkirk. Obviously, Kevin Shattenkirk is a very good veteran defenseman. And then DeAngelo is coming off a very, very strong season with the New York Rangers. And then on the third pairing, I have Mark Stahl, another really solid veteran defenseman who could really thrive in a bottom pairing role in my opinion. And him with Adam Fox, who I think is going to play in the NHL. He's a prospect that we don't really know what he's going to be capable of just yet. Bounced around the league a little bit because he didn't really want to sign his entry-level contract with any of the previous 2 teams that he was on, talking about Calgary and Carolina, but now it seems like he wants to play in New York, and I definitely think there will be a spot for him on the blue line there. So, looking at that blue line, I think it's good, but the one question mark for me about this team next season is in goal. What is Henrik Lundqvist going to be like? If he can stay healthy and, even play 75% of what he was in his prime, I think this is a playoff team for sure. You have Georgiev back there as well, who's a young goaltender, but I don't really know if he could be a starting goaltender for a playoff team just yet. And then obviously you have Shesterkin stored away in the KHL, who's probably going to be ready to come over in the next couple of years and take over that number 1 spot. But until then, I think it's a little bit of a question mark. But overall, I think the goaltending position should be fine if Henrik Lundqvist can stay healthy, because obviously we know what he's capable of. So, looking at the line combinations for the defense and the forwards, I think this should be a very, very solid team next season. And now let's get into my final predictions for the New York Rangers heading into the 2019-20 season. So as you guys can see, I do have the New York Rangers making the playoffs. I think they're going to finish 3rd in the Metro Division, and a big reason for that is just, obviously because they have gotten so much better and acquired some, really good talent over the offseason. Some of the other teams in the Metro have got a little bit worse and maybe took some steps backwards. I look at a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins and obviously the New York Islanders. Those are 2 teams that I definitely could see, falling out of the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised. So that might be a little bit of a bold prediction, and some people might not agree, but I do have the New York Rangers making the playoffs. Their leading goal scorer, I have Panarin/Kakko. I think they're both going to be 30-goal guys, and then leading point scorer, I have Panarin with a point per game. So overall, it's going to be a very exciting team for the New York Rangers, definitely a team I'm going to keep a close eye on, and I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Make sure to let me know all your predictions for the New York Rangers next season down in the comment section below. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and like I said earlier, make sure to let me know all your thoughts and your predictions down in the comment section. Thanks for all the support lately, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.